Hey everyone, and welcome to the Sisterhood podcast. I'm your host, Megan Brusicki, and I'm so excited for this month's conversation with my friend, Pastor Rachel Matthews. I'm so glad that you are joining me for this conversation. You guys will know Pastor Rachel probably from the stage. You recognize her voice because she is one of our worship pastors at Alive Church, and she's just an incredible leader, an incredible friend, very wise, and I'm excited to have a conversation with her today because I think we're all going to learn a lot from her wisdom and experience. So thank you for being here. You want to tell us anything about yourself? Anything we need to know about you?
Well, thanks for having me. It's going to be fun. I'm really excited about sharing with everybody. I don't know. Fun facts. I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago. I was like, what are fun facts that people don't know about me?
Yes, let's tell us
And
a fun
so
fact.
one of them is I actually don't know how to whistle.
What?
Like, I really actually don't. And I've tried
That's wild.
for like my whole life.
Are you still actively trying, or have you like that ship has sailed?
Well, when I thought about it, I tried again. And I was like, no, I actually
my
can't do it.
7-year-old Griffin could possibly give you lessons. That kid can whistle so
That's
intensely.
great. I'm going to have to learn
It
from
is an
him.
intense whistle. He loves to whistle. It's hysterical.
Like, I've gotten little, like, out before, but like a little kind of like just ever so slightly.
That's so surprising.
But
with you being like a vocalist.
yeah, I can't whistle. It's so weird.
But you can sing.
But I can
sing.
I can do a little something. So, it's great.
Well, that's awesome. We're going to have a really fun conversation today around transition and change, something that you know really, really well, especially right now in your life, right?
Yes.
So if you didn't know, Pastor Rachel's been on our team at Alive Church for how many years?
I think 8.
8 years. And took on the challenge and the exciting journey of moving to St. Louis last year to work at our St. Louis location in like a temporary type role to help with some transition happening there. And so she lived in St. Louis for a year. And then just recently, very recently,
Like
moved
literally
back to
days.
Virginia, like barely. And your stuff got here even
And
later than
just-
that, right?
Even shorter.
Yeah, and so she's had some really unique experiences over the last year and a lot that God has done in you through those. And so we're going to talk about that today. But man, one fun part of transition is like the actual moving of stuff
Yes,
from one place to another.
yes.
That didn't go so hot this last
No,
time, did it?
it didn't. It didn't. Well, in the beginning, it was much easier because all I had was what was in my car. So, I purged some things, got rid of some things,
Yeah,
gave some
acquired a
things
whole
away.
townhome full of things.
Yeah, and then now, after living in St. Louis for the last year, I have couches and TVs and just stuff like
And the moving
lots of
company
things.
decided to just take their sweet time.
Yes,
and
and
get
the
you.
moving company, I probably I probably won't say their name, but the
probably
name didn't necessarily reflect, So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to pray about this, so I'm not not in having a good heart towards them, but it was just one thing after another. Getting there was fine. The initial pack up was fine. I understood, all the things, all the signing of documents, and understood all of that. And then once I actually moved to a different state, that was where things started to break down. And apparently there's, more than one Rachel that lives on the earth at
More
this
than
time.
one Rachel was moving her things at the same time.
And then also more than one Rachel was moving her stuff from the Midwest to the East Coast, same state. And so there were some things that kind of got mixed up in translation. And then we're in the season of, people getting sick, just different things happening. And so
like a whole month
a
before
whole
you
month.
got your stuff.
It's like finally we've got the things. And now I have to unpack
Now
them.
you get to unpack them. Yes.
and
Well, the
figure out.
physical transition of moving is a whole thing in itself.
Yes, it is.
But there's a lot that goes along with transitions emotionally and spiritually.
Yes.
As we're going through transitions like moving from different places, or, there's so many different transitions we go through in life. I was thinking of a kind of a list of them, like, getting married, moving out for the first time, whether that's moving into your own place or going away to college is a big transition. Graduating college and getting a job, like getting
Right.
into the adult world. Maybe it's having a baby, getting married. I'm starting to thinking about the next phase of my life where I have a kid who's going to be leaving my home, and that transition is a big transition. The empty nest years, the retirement years. Life is just constant change, right? It's so much change and so much transition. Some of it we're excited about, some of it is good, some of it we don't necessarily look forward to, or we didn't ask for it. I think in a lot of our context in Virginia, at least, we have lots of military families that
Right.
they don't necessarily get to pick their next transition, and
Yes. Wow.
I think that there's a lot God wants us to learn through these different seasons of life, through these different transitions that we go through. And so, maybe just like a basic level, like, what is some of the overarching themes that you feel like have been part of your last couple transitions that you've been through?
Right. I think probably the biggest one that I'm still thinking through is what I'm doing when I'm waiting, because even in transition, you're not doing what you normally would. And so, you might have something working over here, and then you might have this other thing working over here, but you're still, in that waiting period where you're not quite ready, but you're also not sure when you're supposed to move forward or back or diagonally, like whatever that looks like.
Like, it can get kind of fuzzy in a transition.
Right. And so it's like, what do you do when you're waiting? And when you're anticipating something.
Yeah.
And so that's been probably like a pretty big overarching
That's
thing.
so interesting, because I think about when, 15 years ago or so, 13 years ago, Michael and I moved to Virginia for the very first time. And we had a gap of about 2 months from when we left the church that we were leading at in Missouri to when we were moving to Virginia. And those 2 months were actually the hardest part of that transition, because it was so much just anticipation, like not knowing. There's an unknown ahead, and you can't do anything about it. You can't start making friends. You can't start meeting people. You can't start the new thing yet. You just have all this anticipation of the change that's coming. And I think probably a lot of people can relate to that. You think about, you're graduating soon and going off to college soon, but you're not there yet. Or, you're having a baby, but the baby's not here yet. Or you've got, a military deployment that's not here yet, but it's coming.
Right.
Like, what do you do in that anticipation? Like, what did you do during those times when you knew that the move was coming or the change was coming, but it wasn't here yet? How did you stay, like, strong spiritually, emotionally during those seasons?
Right.
Is there anything you held on to?
Oddly enough, it's more of like, just remember to have fun.
That's good.
Because I think for me, I have this tension of like, yes, let's have so much fun. This is exciting. I actually embrace change most of the time. I think where I start to feel the tension of change is when we actually get going, and there's like decisions that you have to make, or you have to think through something, and that's where I might get a little bothered, because of the different things that I might have to think through or talk through. But I actually really do enjoy like the difference of a new thing and what it brings, and the excitement. But when you're doing that for yourself and you're doing all of it, I'm like a single woman, and I've got my family, my church family, but like I'm the one that's doing whatever I need to do for me, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so, from like making sure I have my car ready to go and making sure that the oil is changed and all of these, different things. Like, I don't know anything about cars, but, I have to trust that the technician knows what to do and, to be able to navigate that and make a good choice. Thinking about like trying to think ahead about, okay, well, when I meet these people, when I meet new people, when I meet, new team members or new people from our church, like, how do I want it to feel? Like, what do I want it to be like? I love my church. I love what I get to do and the seat that I sit in. And for me, it's exciting.
Yeah.
When you're bringing new people along, though, you have to be able to explain like, hey, this is why it's fun. This is why it's exciting.
So you enjoy that part?
Yes.
The preparation
so
part.
I enjoy it to an extent.
See, I think for me in a preparation season, I have to actually cause myself to like intentionally make myself slow down. Because I will just make the to-do list 1,000 times and I'll make the plan over and over and over. And it's like, I'm actually not I'm not moving forward because there's things I just can't do yet. And I have to do what you said. I have to intentionally choose to enjoy the present moment.
Right.
And like be where I'm at right now. And like be okay that I'm not 2 months from now. I'm here right now and I'm going to enjoy this right now.
For sure. Because, especially when you love it, you want to be there.
Yeah.
Like you're excited about what's coming, that moment, not realizing that you have to be prepared for that moment.
Yeah.
And that's where I think I have experienced a lot of hang up is I'm so excited looking forward to what's coming. And, I'm the kind of person where I'll think ahead and I'll keep going for months and months, but then I'll find myself like still idle, which can present problems. Because there's still things that you have to prep for the upcoming thing.
Yeah.
And so it's remembering that I still have things to do right now, but also still having joy for what's coming.
Yeah.
Because we can lose steam over time, but just taking that into account, remembering what God says about that he's called us, he wants to partner with us, and that we can continue moving forward, but it's going to look different in each situation. So your preparation for each thing may look slightly different, but you're still making progress and you're still moving forward, even though if you're like me, you like to go fast.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said even about just, kind of thinking about, okay, what do I want it to be like when I meet new people? How do I, you kind of intentionally like almost role playing through like a future situation. I know from talking to you, and like you said, you're a single woman and you moved to St. Louis alone, away from your family for the first time, right? I mean, I guess you went away to college, right?
Yeah.
But like states away
from
your family for the first time and all your friends, pretty much everyone.
Everybody.
And while there's so much excitement in that new thing, it brought a totally different atmosphere of your life, right? Like so many more things. You were just, I know you, Rachel, and you're like, you love to be with people. So you're like, hey, let's go to dinner. Let's go do this, right? And so you were put into a different situation. Like what I would love to hear, maybe just what are some things God taught you about yourself or how you grew in that being just kind of in a totally different scenario, sometimes more alone than you maybe wanted to be. I think a lot of people find ourselves in those situations where we're excited, but also it's going to bring some really uncomfortable challenges.
Yeah. I think first and foremost, I learned that God is actually enough.
That's good.
Like, actually. I was impacted. Really, this was kind of like later on. At a prayer meeting in St. Louis, I was, sitting on the front row, praying, worshiping, and we start reading the Lord's Prayer, and in the version that we read it in, it says, "Our Father in heaven, may your name be kept holy." And so to think about God has enough strength, enough power to keep himself holy. He's got enough power to keep me. And
That's so good.
Just reminding myself that like he's actually enough, and he keeps all of his promises, and he's got me. He's got everybody else, but he's got Rachel. And like, I don't have to be afraid of what's coming. It's a little bit easier said than done. I still have those moments a lot where I'm like, okay, Lord, well, my rent is due, Jesus. And then I need groceries, but also my car has this funny sound and I'm trying to navigate through that. And, people need things. Like, I'm a leader, a pastor, friend, sister, daughter, like we, people need us. People want to be around us. And even in the midst of the swirl of all of that, like, he's still enough and he's got it. And so that was probably the biggest thing. And then also that he actually knows what he's doing. Like, he's been God a long time. Yeah. And
it's one thing to like say we know it, and it's
right.
another thing to like walk through something where you experience it.
Yes, for sure.
Like you said, like, I know it.
Right.
I know that he's enough because I've experienced him being enough.
Yes. I've seen it. I felt it. I've witnessed it in other people too. And, just seeing how God shows up for us is, it's almost unexplainable.
Yeah.
And I think another thing is that, he is with me. Like, I'm not going somewhere that he's not. And I have to trust that what he is doing in me, that he is going to be faithful to carry it out. And so wherever that is, whether it's in another state or in another, role or a job or whatever that may be, wherever I may find myself, like, he's there, like, he's with me. Yeah. And he hears me, like, he hears when, I'm like praying and I'm seeking him. And, as long as I'm, doing what I need to do. And, as far as my walk with him, he's going to hear me. Yeah. And, also that he brings people for you in that specific season. So something you mentioned that's like super near and dear to my heart is people. Like, I love being around people and I love being with people. I love hanging out. I love, cooking for people. I love being in different people's midst. I love learning, about their stories. I love the connection. Yeah. And so when you move somewhere where you nothing, like the very first thing that I thought when I was driving in St. Louis for the first time, like in my car, I was like, man, my car is in a different state. I was like, my whole car is in a completely different area, and I need the GPS to go to the grocery store. Like,
because you were living in the same place you grew up. Like, you've had one kind of experience and
area.
environment that
Right.
you knew.
Right. I know the back streets. I know how to navigate traffic. And now I have to trust
The GPS to go to the grocery store.
to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Well, then.
Relying on Yelp to find dinner.
And I'm
right?
like, I need some food to eat, or, I want to go take a walk somewhere. Where do I go? And so, being around people is very important to me, and being around people that are going to encourage me. It's important, and it's not that you're, leaving people behind,
Yeah.
and you don't ever talk to them, but it is different because they're not physically with you, like in person, and so God gives us those people, and so it was a slow start at first.
Yeah. I think that though is important, that we can recognize that it's going to be slow. And that it's going to take time. I know, my kids went through a transition too, because we moved away for a while, and that idea of like, I'm going to have great friends my first week of high school isn't necessarily realistic, right?
Yeah.
That it's going to take longer. But it doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Right.
It just, we have to be patient.
Right.
What was that like for you, that process of like, okay, God, I know, like, I'm starting fresh here,
Completely.
Like, you have to start to build relationships. And I think, a lot of people experience that. Maybe you moved. Maybe you're going away to college. Maybe you went to a new school. Maybe you're just in a new environment for whatever reason. Like, what are some of the things you did to start establishing new relationships?
First of all, it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
Like,
It's so
I didn't
hard.
even think twice about it.
It's like
living
dating
here.
friends.
I was like, well, do you want to hang out with me? You're like, whatever, years old, and I'm having to find new friends.
I
And
know.
it's like, okay, well, here we go. But I think just doing what I do and inviting people out or inviting people over or saying, hey, or being in conversation with someone and them saying like, oh, I've done this, and, just listening to what they say and be like, oh, I've not gotten to experience that. Do you want to go? And, try to help create some experiences that you can have with other people. Inviting people over, it was like nerve-wracking because I wanted people to come over, but like I didn't have a couch for a few weeks. So it was like,
Well, and it's totally different inviting over somebody who you're comfortable with and
Right.
really well than it is to invite somebody over for the first time, right?
it is. It really is.
Yeah.
And so, kind of getting past that first, like you actually have to just, I don't want to say be settled, because that's another thing that I learned too, that like with the Lord, I can be settled and I can have peace. And if
so good.
my surroundings are different, like I can still have peace. I am home
Yeah.
with the Lord, like
That's good.
wherever he's at, because he's in me.
Yeah.
And so, that was something else I learned too. But just recognizing that, okay, I am in process, and it's okay that, things aren't exactly the way I planned or wanted to be. Like, I wanted to make sure I had this couch last week, but it's okay. We're going to get that worked out, and then we can invite people over, or just invite people over. And that's kind of like the fun and joy of moving is like you navigating different like ups and downs, and people that have experienced that too, they're going to be right there,
Yeah.
right in it too.
Yeah.
So
And I think, going first, knowing that God has friends for us. Like, he's not going to take us to a place to leave us on our own, right?
Right.
That's not his character. That's not who he is. And so recognizing that and being willing to like put ourselves out there
yes.
can really help us move forward in a season where we've transitioned to a new environment and a new space. Andy Andrew was here at our Sisterhood conference a couple years ago,
Right,
and
yes.
she taught on transition and change. And one of the things she said was transition can be a teacher or it can destroy us. We have to allow the change to change us. And I think about that, and I think about the verse from James chapter 1, verse 2 and 4. It says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kind, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." And so, kind of as we wrap up, do you feel like this transition of this last year kind of like, can you tell, like, did God change you? Like, what are some of the things that you felt like that was maybe could have broken me, but instead it's transformed me, or it's challenged me in a way that has caused me to grow?
Yes. I'm definitely different. I can feel it, and other people can too. And moving back, I've had people say, "I didn't even recognize you," and I'm like, "Really?" But I mean, I do. Like, I feel different. I think that I carry myself differently because I've had to depend on God for things that, like, I wouldn't have even thought I had to.
Yeah.
And I was reminded over the last year about in Philippians 4, before it gets down to, like, our, like, the famous verse, like, I can do all things through Christ. It talks about, Paul is talking about, in this season and that season, when I have a lot, when I don't have a lot, that, like, I can still be joyful. Like, I can still experience the fullness of the Lord because, he doesn't actually really need a lot. He talks about, like, mustard seed of faith. And if you've ever seen a mustard seed, it's like literally you could flick it. You could miss it.
Yeah.
And so he wants that.
Yeah.
And so, just allowing him to continue to pour into me, and then allowing myself to have that space to be poured into. Like, it's okay to slow down. As I mentioned, I really do like to go fast. I'm like, let's go. Like, it's who I am. But at the same time, like, we were made to remain in him. And so, like, there's strength in that.
Yeah. That's so good. I had written down the verse from John chapter 15 too, where he says, "I am the vine and you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing."
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of, to summarize the conversation, is that no matter what we're walking through, no matter what transition, no matter what is coming ahead or what we've been through, like, remaining in Jesus and knowing that he is faithful. Like, he will do what he said he will do. We can allow his process to work in us, like you said, kind of taking space, taking time, letting what's happening change us and transform us, because he's taking us somewhere good.
Yes.
And even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, like, embracing the change. So thank you for sharing with us today. And I hope that you are encouraged today through this conversation, and whatever challenges you're facing, whatever changes or transitions might be coming at you in the new year, know that God is faithful. He is with you, and we can trust him to do what he said he would do. So thanks for being here. We'll see you next month.